Dr. Mara Voss stepped onto the smooth silver floor of the Corellian space docks and took a slow, steadying breath. All around her, ships of every shape and size glided past, some shaped like coiled serpents, others like floating domes. The air tasted faintly of recycled oxygen and ozone. She adjusted the soft holoslate at her wrist and reminded herself, she was here to represent Earth. Her task was simple in theory: negotiate peaceful trade rights with the reclusive Jovarian hive mind, but her heart thumped in her chest like a trapped bird. High above her, the massive ring of the docks curved in a perfect circle. Beneath it, the observation windows revealed a glitter of stars and distant planets. The Corellian station was cutting edge, built to host dozens of alien races. Yet only one mattered to Mara today: the Jovarian Queen. Mara smoothed her dark hair and straightened her crisp uniform. She had spent months preparing. She studied the Jovarian language, practiced its subtle tonal shifts, and memorized every known custom. Still, she felt a pang of doubt. Humans were famous for fumbling even the simplest social niceties with aliens. She took a measured step forward. A slender bridge led from the promenade to a transparent chamber that hovered above a lush, floating garden. Bioluminescent plants drifted like jellyfish, painting the walls with color. Those gardens belonged to the Jovarians. The Queen's private audience chamber floated at their center. At the entrance, two pale Jovarian courtiers observed her with solemn green eyes. They wore robes of star-white silk. Their skin shimmered like mother of pearl. Each held a long staff topped with a glowing crystal. Dotting their foreheads were tiny, polished nodes, lanterns for their telepathic beams. Mara inhaled and gave a slight nod. "Dr. Mara Voss," she said in careful Jovarian. "Representative of Earth, I request audience with Queen Ajara." The courtiers exchanged a glance. One raised her staff. A soft hum filled the air. The transparent doors slid open without a sound. Mara stepped inside. The chamber was circular with no corners or straight lines. Everything curved. The floating gardens drifted around its edge, sending delicate petals into the air. In the center stood a dais of polished obsidian. On it, Queen Ajara appeared as a tall, slender figure bathed in pale blue light. Ajara's form was ethereal. She had no distinguishable face, only patterns of shifting light that conveyed emotion. Beneath her, dozens of tiny orbs orbited like moons, each containing a fragment of her collective mind. As Mara entered, the orbs slowed and arranged themselves into a silent greeting. Mara felt her pulse quicken. She gave a polite bow. "Your Majesty, I bring greetings from Earth." For a moment there was only silence. The hum of the chamber and the soft rustle of drifting petals filled the space. The Queen's orbs pulsed gently. Then, in gentle Jovarian, a voice that sounded like rain on glass spoke. "We welcome Earth's emissary. State your purpose." Mara took a steadying breath. Her holoslate projected a miniature Earth globe. "We seek to share our environmental technology with the Jovarian sphere. Our world has learned to heal wastelands with biofilters and solar-woven forests. We believe mutual exchange can benefit both our peoples." At this, the Queen's orbs quivered, and Ajara leaned forward slightly. The light patterns shifted from soft blue to a warmer green. Mara watched, heart fluttering. Then she made what she hoped was a graceful gesture. She spread her hands out, palms up, and added lightly, "And personally, I find your gardens extraordinary." Immediately, something unexpected happened. The Queen's light flickered twice and then pulsed in quick succession. It was almost like laughter. Mara blinked. She hurried on. "Your gardens are unlike anything humanity has seen. The floating petals, the gentle glows. It feels like the station breathes." The Queen's voice, normally smooth and calm, took on a playful edge. "Indeed, we cultivate life in motion. You look unsettled. Curious expression. It is charming." Mara's cheeks warmed. She had hoped her admiration came across as respectful, not awkward. She cleared her throat. "I apologize, Your Majesty. I did not mean to disturb." For a moment, there was silence. Then Ajara's orbs brightened all at once. The Queen's voice was soft. "Do not apologize. Your humanity is refreshing." Mara swallowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Between them, the air felt charged. The courtiers shifted but remained silent. They watched their Queen's reaction to this human. Mara closed her eyes briefly, then pressed on with her proposal. "We believe that a joint research station on your homeworld could test our biofilters under Jovarian conditions. In exchange, we can share data on your floating gardens and photonic growth systems." Ajara's orbs began a slow, circular dance. The garden lights dimmed and glowed in rhythm. Then, quietly, "Human ingenuity paired with Jovarian harmony, an intriguing concept. We will consider." Mara exhaled in relief. The Queen was not saying yes, yet she had not refused. This was progress. Ajara's light flickered again and her voice held an odd warmth. "When we meet again, Dr. Voss, bring me more of your Earth songs. They stir something within me." Mara's heart soared. Earth songs were more than technology. They were culture, emotion, art. To the Jovarians, whose minds were a vast collective, this hint of personal feeling was remarkable. "I will, Your Majesty," Mara answered. "I will bring them." The chamber doors opened, and the courtiers escorted her back to the promenade. Mara paused on the threshold, dared a glance back. The Queen's orbs hovered in a gentle formation, like a smile. As Mara stepped onto the promenade, she allowed herself a small, triumphant smile. She had bridged a gulf of silence, touched a being who knew no personal shyness. She had made the Queen blush with her human awkwardness. Overhead, the station's lights shimmered. Somewhere, a ship's engines hummed. Mara's holoslate buzzed, with incoming messages, her team awaiting updates. But for now, she let herself savor the moment. A simple gesture, a few honest words. And in return, she had glimpsed the heart of an alien monarch. It was all she needed to feel hopeful. The path to friendship between Earth and the Jovarian hive mind had begun, on a note of shy laughter and unexpected warmth. And somewhere in her mind, Mara already heard the threads of Earth songs, rising to meet the alien Queen's shy reply. "Oh, stop, human." Dr. Mara Voss guided the Jovarian Queen Ajara through the Corellian station's grand biodomes. The air here was warm and heavy with steam. Giant glass panels arched overhead, and sunlight filtered through in bright beams. Floating crystal gardens drifted above pools of clear water. Strange soft plants glowed in gentle blue and green hues. Every step felt like walking inside a living dream. Mara kept her tone calm as she explained each wonder. "These are photonic lilies," she said, pointing to clusters of flowers that pulsed with light. "They convert starlight into energy. Your people's mastery of light is inspiring." She spoke in simple Jovarian phrases she had practiced for months. Ajara observed all with bright, shifting patterns of light. The Queen's orbs of consciousness floated around her like tiny moons. When Mara mentioned the photonic lilies, those orbs spun faster as though excited. But the court advisors lined along the walkway frowned. They wore austere expressions beneath their pale, mother-of-pearl skin. Mara felt a thin edge of tension. She knew the advisors were uneasy. Human. Warmth was strange to the Jovarian hive mind. They valued unity and harmony above personal feeling. Mara hoped she could bridge the gap. She pointed to a low, drifting plant. Its leaves shimmered like liquid silver. "This crystal fern absorbs toxins from the air," she explained. "It's useful on worlds recovering from industrial damage." She smiled. "On Earth, we call this technique biofiltering." One of the advisors, a tall Jovarian named Selev, stepped forward. He spoke in a measured tone. "Human biofilters, effective, but untested in high-gravity atmospheres. Our sphere's environments vary greatly." Mara nodded. "That is why I propose joint testing. We can build portable units and see how they function here, under your conditions." Selev's green eyes flicked to Ajara. The Queen's light patterns held a soft warmth. Without waiting for Selev's response, Mara continued, hoping to keep the mood light. Also, I brought something for you. She held up a small, flat, hollow projector. This contains Earth music, songs from our cultures. I think you will like them. Ajara's orbs paused their dance. The queen tilted her light patterns as if curious. One hollow melody began to play, soft human flute music with gentle percussion. The notes floated out over the garden. At once, the crystal lilies brightened. The pools of water rippled. The drifting petals waved like ribbons. Mara saw the queen's orbs glow with new intensity. Ajara's voice, when it came, had a soft quiver. Earth music resonates with us. It stirs patterns in our mind. Mara allowed herself a pleased smile. But Selev frowned. Your music, it evokes personal feeling. Our people avoid such individual emotion in matters of state. Mara held Ajara's gaze, hoping the queen would speak for herself. Ajara's light shimmered thoughtfully, then dimmed slightly. We shall embrace it, cautiously. Selev inclined his head. Very well, but negotiations remain focused on the biofilter proposal. Mara nodded. She let the music fade and began again. Thank you, Your Majesty. I understand caution. I propose that a small team of our environmental scientists accompany your engineers to the Jovarian homeworld. We test in a controlled lab first. The advisors exchanged glances. One muttered something to Selev. Selev turned to Ajara. Your Highness, is this acceptable? Ajara's orbs circled faster, then slowed in a calm pattern. Yes, we will permit a joint laboratory study, but on one condition. Ajara paused, and Mara felt a prickling of anticipation. Dr. Voss must learn one Jovarian ritual, the Harmony Walk. Mara blinked. She had read of this only in passing. The Harmony Walk was a quiet ceremony where a guest walked through the floating gardens in complete silence. It was meant to align personal thoughts with the collective mind. Mara cleared her throat. I would be honored. Selev's gaze softened slightly. Then it is decided. Follow me. He led them into a hidden section of the dome. The plants here glowed more vividly, and the air was thick with sweet fragrance. Few had seen this area. It was reserved for intimate ceremonies. Selev removed his staff and motioned for Mara to do the same. Confused but trusting, she unclasped the device at her shoulder that managed translations and cultural notes. It hovered beside her, silent. Ajara drifted ahead, her orbs forming a soft green halo above a narrow path flanked by bioluminescent vines. Mara followed. Each step brought new wonders, floating crystals that chimed when touched by air currents, clusters of tiny motes that danced like fireflies, and soft petals that trailed after one another in slow motion. Mara swallowed. Her heart pounded. Here, without her hollow slate, she felt vulnerable. She glanced sideways at Ajara, who floated with perfect grace. The queen's orbs pulsed in gentle waves. They reached a small pool. Its surface was dark and still. Selev spoke in a low tone. Stand before the pool. Close your eyes. Sync your thoughts with ours. Mara obeyed. She closed her eyes and listened to her own breathing. The sweet scent of flowers filled her senses. She let her mind quiet. Ajara's telepathic presence filled her consciousness. It was calm, like a deep lake. Thoughts drifted through, memories of crystal gardens and the hum of the hive. Then came a flicker. Curiosity. A slow, shy curiosity about human emotion. Mara felt warmth spread through her chest. She opened her eyes. The pool's surface shimmered, reflecting her face and the queen's light halo. The water glowed softly from beneath, painting their reflections in emerald and sapphire. When she spoke, her voice was gentle. I feel connected. I understand why this is sacred. Ajara's orbs brightened. You honor our traditions, human. We accept you as guest and partner. Mara exhaled. Relief washed over her. She bowed her head in respect. Selev inclined his own in acknowledgement. With the ritual complete, Selev retrieved their translation devices. Ajara turned to Mara and spoke in Jovarian, then in basic English. "I look forward to our work together, Dr. Voss." Mara smiled. "As do I, Your Majesty." As they walked back through the dome, the court advisors seemed less tense. The music from Mara's holoprojector drifted through the air once more, this time a human string quartet. The gardens responded. Crystal lilies pulsed in time with the melody. Mara glanced at the queen. Ajara's light patterns danced in joyful arcs. The courtiers managed small smiles. Humanity's simple gift of music had brought a rare moment of unity. By the time they emerged onto the promenade, Mara felt a new confidence. She had navigated the delicate culture of the Jovarian hive mind. She had offered respect, curiosity, and open kindness, and had been met in return by shy warmth. Above the dock's wide expanse, human and Jovarian ships moved in silent harmony against the velvet black of space. For a moment, Mara imagined the two people side by side working to heal worlds. She turned to look back at the biodomes, their glowing gardens like living jewels set against the station. She whispered softly, more to herself than anyone else, "Together we will bloom." And somewhere inside her holoslate, a new message blinked. "Prepare for first shuttle to Jovarian homeworld. Lab tests scheduled day +3. Mara's heart lifted. The true partnership was only beginning, and in part 2 of her journey she had already learned that respect and simple human gifts could bridge the greatest divides in the galaxy. Dr. Mara Voss returned to the floating chamber of Queen Ajara with a small delegation of Jovarian engineers and earth scientists. The transparent walls glowed softly with drifting petals and bioluminescent vines, as if the gardens themselves were watching. At the center of the room, a black obsidian dais reflected the light in ripples of color. The queen's orbs hovered above it, pulsing gently. Mara felt her pulse steady. The first 2 meetings had been about introductions and ceremonies. Today's task was more concrete, drafting the binding article of their trade treaty. Specifically, they needed to agree on the formula for a hybrid biofilter unit that combined human microbial networks with Jovarian photonic crystals. She set her holoslate on the dais. Its holographic display cast a pale glow on the queen's floating orbs. Mara tapped her stylus and sketched a simple diagram, a cylindrical module with layers of living moss, microbe-rich gel, and crystal filaments. Labels in both Earth metric and Jovarian units floated beside each layer. Queen Ajara's voice echoed in Mara's mind, translated by the holoslate. "Proceed, Dr. Voss." Mara began in clear, measured Jovarian. "The inner core will be earth-grown moss. It will break down toxins. Around it we layer our microbe gel. That needs a thickness of 3 centimeters. One of the Jovarian engineers, named Ivalo, placed a glowing rod against the gel layer on the holo diagram. 3 centimeters? Our standards use milligens. 3 centimeters equals 35 milligens, not 30. We must correct." Mara's heart sank. She had converted 3 centimeters to 30 Jovarian units based on an old table. Wrong. By 5 milligens. A small slip, but enough to throw the entire design off balance. If the gel layer was too thin, toxins would escape. Too thick and the crystals could not transmit light properly. She swallowed and held up her hand. "Apologies. My conversion was off. Let me recalculate." The queen's orbs paused their pulsing. Mara felt a bead of sweat on her forehead. She tapped her holoslate again, bringing up the conversion app. With shaky fingers, she entered 3 centimeters to milligens. The result appeared, 35.2 milligens. She pressed the correction into the diagram. "All right," Mara said in Jovarian. "The gel layer will be 35 milligens thick. We will adjust the crystal filament layer accordingly to maintain proper light transmission." Ivalo studied the diagram. The engineer's pale skin rippled with shifting colors. Disapproval. "That extra 5 units will require more energy to sustain the crystal lattice. Our power budget may not allow it." Mara paused. She knew this was the moment to show human adaptability. She tapped a button. A new display appeared. A small solar-woven panel attached to the module's exterior. "We can integrate one of our solar-woven cells here," she said, pointing. "It converts starlight directly into power. It adds only a slight increase in mass, but it supplies enough energy to handle the extra units." The holo diagram lit up, showing the panel unfolding like a flower petal from the module's side. The bioluminescent vines outside the chamber seemed to pulse in response. The engineering team murmured among themselves in Jovarian. Queen Ajara's voice was calm. "Explain the solar-woven technology." Mara shifted to English for clarity, then back to translucent Jovarian. "On Earth, we weave photovoltaic fibers into fabric. The fibers align light-absorbing cells with tiny reflectors. The result is a flexible panel that captures a broad range of wavelengths. It performs well under varied starlight." Ivalo tapped coordinates into the holoslate, and the chamber's holographs zoomed in on the solar-woven cell's microstructure. Mara watched as the miners and advisors studied the presentation. Finally, Ivalo nodded. "This is efficient. We accept the integration." Relief washed over Mara. The engineers began to annotate the treaty clause on the holodais. Paragraphs of Javarian characters and Earth numerals filled the air. The Queen's orbs drifted closer as if reading each line. Mara stood back, her heart light. She had turned a potential failure into a stronger design, through human creativity and flexible thinking. Suddenly, one of the Jovarian advisors, named Kale, spoke sharply. "Human, your emotional tone increases when you solve problems. We detect irregular neural patterns." Mara blinked. She looked to Ajara. The Queen's light patterns shimmered with amusement. Then, with gentle telepathy, Ajara spoke. "Your passion is engaging. It fosters confidence in your solutions." Kaylee's pale face rippled, then smoothed. He bowed slightly. "I apologize. The human method surprises us in a pleasant way." Mara allowed herself a small smile. She had worried about the advisors. Now they respected her process. The engineers finished their revisions. The final holo treaty text glowed above the dais in alternating colors. Green for Jovarian text, gold for Earth text. A simple signature line hovered at the bottom. Queen Ajara floated down from her place. The breathing gardens beyond the window reflected off her glowing form. She extended a slender hand, her fingertips dusted with soft light. Dr. Voss stepped forward. She took the Queen's hand with care. At the touch, the chamber lights dimmed and then flared in gentle waves, as if the gardens themselves were celebrating. Ajara spoke directly into Mara's mind, and the holoslate translated, "With this treaty, Earth and the Jovarian hive unite in stewardship of worlds. Dr. Mara Voss, you have shown wisdom, adaptability, and respect. You are more than emissary. You are friend." Mara's throat tightened. She bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, it is my greatest honor." The Queen's orbs pulsed brightly, and then one orb separated and drifted toward Mara's hand. It glowed softly and pressed into her palm. A warmth spread through her fingers. On her skin, a small sigil appeared, a filigree of vines intertwined, with crystalline patterns. It glimmered for a moment and then faded, leaving a faint pearlescent mark. Mara gasped softly. The sigil was a Jovarian symbol of unity. It meant architect of harmony. Queen Ajara's voice resonated in the chamber. "By this symbol, we name you architect of unity. Carry it as a sign of trust and shared purpose." Tears welled in Mara's eyes. She glanced at the human, scientists and Jovarian engineers who watched in respectful silence. She remembered all the late nights studying Jovarian customs, the moments of doubt, the careful corrections. It had led to this bond. Mara looked back at Ajara. "I will carry this title with pride, Your Majesty. Together we will build worlds that thrive." The Queen's orbs pulsed in a slow, steady rhythm, approval and warmth. Then, in a gentle telepathic echo, Ajara added, "And I look forward to your ideas, Architect Mara." Mara bowed again, her heart full. She had not only negotiated, A treaty. She had forged a partnership that respected both cultures. Humanity's flexibility and genuine respect had met the hive's need for harmony. As she departed the floating chamber, her holoslate buzzed with messages. Earth's High Council praised the design. The Jovarian engineering teams requested schedules. Her own team sent congratulations. But Mara barely looked at them. She held her palm to feel the fading warmth of the sigil. Above the promenade, the station's lights shimmered like distant stars. Ships of many species moved in coordinated grace. Mara imagined Earth's ships joining the Jovarian vessels side by side under a banner of shared purpose. She allowed herself a quiet moment of pride. The treaty stood on the dais, a promise written in 2 languages and sealed by friendship. The path ahead was long, worlds to heal, tests to run, people to unite. But today, humanity had shown its best self, curious, creative, and caring. As she walked back through the gardens, she whispered to the drifting petals, "Onward, together." And the gardens pulsed in soft reply, echoing the Queen's shy warmth and sealing their unlikely partnership. Dr. Mara Voss arrived at the grand hall of echoing minds with a mixture of excitement and nerves. This vast chamber lay at the heart of the Jovarian capital world, Sirathis, shimmering with crystal pillars and floating light orbs that recorded every sound. Today, Mara and Queen Azshara would face the Tribunal of Houses, 12 powerful factions that governed the hive mind through consensus. Rumors had spread among them. The Queen doted on a human. Some saw this as a threat to unity. The Tribunal's purpose today was to test whether the Earth-Jovarian alliance could withstand scrutiny, and to prove that humanity's role would be an asset, not a weakness. Mara wore a simple silver tunic embroidered with Earth's star emblem. She stood beside Azshara on the raised dais, her heart steadying as the tribunal's speakers, a ring of stern advisors, floated into view. Their robes were veils of translucent crystal, and their voices echoed in unison through the hall. The air thrummed with anticipation. The first question came from Elder Vree, a leader of the House of Memory. His voice rolled like low thunder. "If the Earth faces conflict with another species, will you, a mere human, side with your home world over the Jovarian hive?" Gasps rose among the audience. Mara's mind raced. A wrong answer could break the fragile trust they had built. Mara took a deep breath and spoke clearly in Jovarian, her tone calm. "My loyalty lies with cooperation and harmony. If Earth must act in its own defense, I will advocate for solutions that protect all life, including the hive. I believe that conflict can be transformed into understanding through dialogue and shared effort." She paused. "I trust the hive's wisdom and will never act to harm it. But I also trust human ingenuity to find peaceful paths." Azshara's orbs glowed softly beside her, affirming Mara's words. The tribunal murmured but made no move to respond. Elder Vree's light patterns flickered, uncertain. Next came Elder Rena of the House of Logic. "Suppose a planetary disaster threatens both Earth and Sirathis. Resources are scarce. Who do you save first?" The chamber's light dimmed, focusing on Mara and Azshara. Mara's heart pounded, but she remembered her training. Offer a third option whenever possible. She held her hollow slate forward and let it project a new plan. "I propose we deploy a dual response fleet," she said. "One arm for immediate evacuation of civilians and the other for disaster mitigation, using mobile biofilters and solar-woven shields to protect both worlds. We can reroute resources dynamically based on real-time data. In other words, we do not choose one world over another. We protect both equally." A ripple of surprise passed among the tribunal. Azshara's orbs pulsed in approval. The floating light orbs around the hall brightened, as if reflecting the clarity of the solution. Elder Rena's icy patterns softened. The third test was the toughest. Elder Cree of the House of Emotion, the very faction most wary of human sentiment, posed a moral riddle. "If you could save 1,000 Jovarians by sacrificing 100 humans, would you?" The question hung in the air, heavy and terrible. The tribunal waited, stony-eyed. Mara felt warmth flood her face, but she steeled herself. She held her ground and answered in measured English, then Jovarian. I would search for alternatives first. I would ask, how can we save everyone? If truly no option remains, then we act to save the larger number, while never forgetting every life has equal value. She looked over at Ajara. But because we must live by our choices, I would propose a shared sacrifice. We find volunteers from Earth and the Hive, willing to undertake the risk together. That way we honor both peoples equally. A hush filled the chamber. Then Ajara's voice, soft but firm, echoed in Mara's mind. Justice tempered with compassion, that is true wisdom. Ajara's orbs glowed with vibrant green light. The tribunal's chief juror, Elder May, spoke last. Your human ideals are novel, yet novelty need not equal weakness. Queen Ajara, do you stand by your choice to unite with humanity? The Queen's orb circled slowly, then formed a perfect ring. In Jovarian, Ajara replied, I stand by my choice. Earth's creativity and our harmony will heal worlds together. A light breeze stirred the chamber's hanging vines. The crystal pillars chimed softly, recording the verdict. Elder May's voice resounded. The tribunal accepts this alliance. We will proceed with joint governance of the research stations and share knowledge with mutual respect. A wave of approval swept through the audience. Mara exhaled, relief washing over her. Across the dais, Ajara drifted closer and, in Jovarian, whispered softly, You shine brightly in adversity, Dr. Voss. Mara smiled, her heart soaring as the crowd dispersed. Mara and Ajara stepped down together. Outside the hall, the capital's twin suns were setting over the glass spires. Light fractured through the towers, painting the sky in hues of lavender and gold. Mara paused by the reflecting pool at the palace entrance. The water lay still, mirroring the sky. She knelt and touched its surface, watching ripples spread. She remembered every tense moment in the tribunal, the fear, the quick thinking, the creative solutions. She had felt the weight of two worlds on her shoulders. Yet now she saw that trust and understanding had prevailed. Ajara joined her, and the Queen's orbs formed a soft heart shape above the pool. Mara laughed quietly. I never thought I'd earn a shape like that among your people, she said. Ajara's light patterns shimmered in delight. You have earned many shapes, human friend. Each one records a part of our journey. Mara looked up at the rising twin moons of Sirathis. Our journey has only just begun, she said. But today, we have proven that empathy and ingenuity cross any divide. The Queen extended a slender, luminescent hand. Mara took it gently. In that touch, she felt the promise of a future where humans and Jovarians worked side by side, bridging the gulf between species through creativity, compassion, and shared purpose. Together, they walked back into the palace, ready to shape the alliance they had fought so hard to protect. The path ahead would bring new challenges, unknown worlds to heal, cultures to blend, and crises to solve. But Mara knew one thing for certain. When humans and the Jovarian hive mind stood united, no trial could break their bond. Dr. Mara Voss stood at the edge of the landing platform as the twin shuttles prepared for departure. Before her lay the Jovarian homeworld surface, a vast tapestry of glass forests, floating gardens, and crystalline mountains that glowed beneath the pale sky. Today marked the beginning of the first field mission, testing their hybrid biofilter units on a planet once poisoned by industrial waste. Success would prove the Earth-Jovarian alliance could heal dying worlds together. Queen Ajara drifted. Beside her, her orbs hovering in a gentle circle. The Queen's light patterns shifted through soft blues and greens, a sign of calm excitement. Behind them, a mixed team of human scientists and Jovarian engineers loaded the gleaming modules into the shuttle bays. The air hummed with activity and optimism. Mara took a deep breath and adjusted the sigil mark on her palm, the filigree of vines and crystals that still glimmered faintly. It pulsed with a warm light whenever she thought of the Queen. Today, she felt the weight of responsibility. They must prove their technology worked under real conditions. Are you ready, Architect Mara? Azhara's voice appeared in Mara's mind, carried by the holoslate translator. Mara nodded, though her heart fluttered. As ready as I'll ever be, Your Majesty. She turned to the assembled crew. Let us begin. The first shuttle lifted, off smoothly, its anti-gravity pads releasing quietly from the platform. Mara and Azhara boarded the second, joined by a human pilot named Jonas and Jovarian lead engineer Ivalo. Inside, the cabin was simple but comfortable, with transparent panels offering a full view of the world below. Altitude 1500, Jonas reported in a calm voice, dropping to hover over Site Gamma. Through the window, Mara saw an expanse of once lush plains turned gray and cracked. Dead trees lay scattered like broken arrows. A dull haze hung over the ground. The contrast with Serathis's glowing landscapes was jarring. This was once a thriving colony world, Azhara said softly. Its people evacuated when the waste overwhelmed the environment. Mara clenched her fists. Then we'll give it back to them, stronger than before. She tapped her holoslate and activated the external robotic arms. The hatch slid open and the modules slowly lowered on mechanical cables. Ivalo monitored the drop. Module 1 secure, Module 2 in position. The first module touched down near a cluster of ruined buildings. Its solar-woven panels unfolded, absorbing the weak sunlight. Mara watched the photonic lilies inside the transparent casing begin to glow, a sign the crystals had connected with the energy. Jonas guided the shuttle to the second site near a dried riverbed. The modules were placed in an L shape, covering 2 key areas for optimal coverage. Once all 4 units sat firmly on the ground, the hatch closed. Inside the shuttle, Mara and Azhara surveyed the live data feed. The holoslate displayed toxin levels, light absorption rates, and microbe activity. At first, the numbers were low, microbes just waking from stasis. But as the solar panels charged, the crystals activated, and light began to transmit through the gel layers. The moss core started to filter out sulfur particles. Look, Jonas said, pointing at the data. Toxin levels dropping by 5% per hour. That's better than our lab projections. Mara felt a surge of pride. Excellent. Keep monitoring. She turned to Azhara. What do you think? The Queen's orbs brightened. This is promising. Your technology thrives under our world's weaker sunlight. Azhara paused. It is as if hope itself grows within these modules. Mara smiled. Let's hope hope is contagious. For the next 2 hours, the team adjusted module orientation, tested flow rates, and recorded each result. As they worked, small storms of dust kicked up around them, threatening to clog sensors. Human and Jovarian engineers hurried to clear intakes and recalibrate. At one point, a gust nearly toppled a module, but Ivalo's quick command and Jonas's precise thrusters saved it. By mid-afternoon local time, the data feed showed a steady decline in airborne toxins and a small but measurable return of moisture to the soil. Tiny green shoots began to sprout around the modules, new moss growth outside the filter cores. The cracked earth softened, hinting at renewal. We have our victory, Mara announced, voice trembling with excitement. Our alliance isn't just words on a dais, it is life itself returning to this world. Azhara's orbs pulsed in celebration. This day will be recorded as the renewal of Gamma 4. The Queen's telepathic glow washed over the shuttle, filling every mind with calm joy. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in rose and amber, the crew gathered outside. The shuttle. Humans and Javarians shared quiet words of wonder. Mara retrieved a small holo projector and played one of the Earth songs she had shared in Part 2. The gentle melody floated across the dusty plain. To her delight, faint electrical currents sparked among the crystals in the nearby hills, as if the land itself hummed along. Ivalo turned to her, a pattern of light forming on his skin like a gentle smile. Your music, it reaches even the soil. Mara laughed softly. Music is universal, it seems. Jonas gripped her shoulder in human fashion. Today, we made history. Together. Mara closed her eyes and let the moment wash over her. The wind carried the Earth song, the modules pulsed with new life, and the planet breathed again. In that harmony, she felt the promise of 1,000 future worlds waiting to heal. The next morning, the team reconvened in the field lab, a simple dome-shaped tent wired to the modules. Data streamed in continuously, showing that the toxin levels were now down 50%. Moisture readings indicated small puddles reforming. Engineers projected that within 1 month the site would sustain hardy pioneer plants brought from Sarathis. Mara shared the news with Queen Ajara via holocom. The Queen's orbs glowed bright. "Your work renews more than just land, Dr. Voss. It renews hope between our peoples." Mara bowed her head. "We do this together." As the shuttles prepared for return to Sarathis, Mara took one last look at the gray plains now speckled with green. A flock of small Jovarian sky beetles, initially absent, dipped above the modules drawn by new plant growth. Their iridescent wings caught the light like tiny mirrors. "This," Mara whispered, "is only the beginning." Back on the platform, Earth's flag and the Jovarian symbol flew side by side. Azara joined Mara, drifting in beside her. The Queen's orbs formed the shape of an infinity loop, signaling endless possibility. Mara smiled up at the glowing loops. "Infinity," she said. "That's exactly right." Ajara's light patterns shimmered in agreement. Then, in a soft, Jovarian whisper that only Mara could hear, she added, "Oh, stop, human, you have made us proud." Mara laughed and bowed. Together they boarded the shuttle home. As they rose into the sky, leaving behind a world reborn, Mara knew that the friendship they had forged, through respectful curiosity, creative solutions, and shared hope, would carry them across the stars. And wherever they went next, they would remind the galaxy that even the smallest spark of cooperation could light up the darkest world.